Hi, and welcome to this edition of Tech Clarity TV. My name's Jim Brown, President of Tech Clarity, where we make the business value of technology clear. Today I'm here to talk to you about product compliance in the product lifecycle and how companies are trying to achieve environmentally compliant products early in the product development process. I'm going to share with you some background and some perspectives from some research that I've been doing, including a recent survey on the product development trade-offs that company needs to make in order to make the right decisions from a compliance and sustainability perspective while also keeping costs in check. One of the first things we ask is, what are the regulatory requirements that are really impacting your business? Which are the ones that have the biggest pressure that they're applying? And very similar to the 2009 study we did, in 2011 we saw that the top two were RoHS and REACH. No surprise to these. And if you look, roughly 80% of companies are dealing with each of these. And I think the key thing to take away as you look down this list isn't the fact that RoHS and REACH are at the top, and that's certainly important, and most of you are probably dealing with those right now. But if you look at the number that are in this top 10, and there were a number below this as well, and you look at the fact that over half of the companies are dealing with really the top 7 of them, and really down to number 8. The key thing is that these aren't things that are in exclusion. Companies are having to deal with all of these in combination, in addition to dealing with their own corporate green standards and their customers' requirements, their custom requirements that are coming their way. So it's really this myriad set of requirements that are causing the biggest challenge. So when I look at how this is impacting companies, we ask what significant negative business impacts are happening to your company based on environmental compliance. And I think a lot of people realize it's important to have corporate responsibility. I think it's important that they know that it's important to do this efficiently so they can keep their costs in check. The thing that I like to point out on this is that this is really about protecting the top line. It's not just about risk management, potential fines and fees. It's about making sure you have access to markets to sell products and keep revenue streams going. If you look, delayed time to market, missed product cost targets, shipments placed on hold, a lot of these things are the things that are going to make it very difficult to sell the product and keep the top line rolling. Some of the things that I think it's really important to think about it, and an example, a great example by Ray Lazat at APC, is that it can be something very small that can cause a very big problem in compliance, as he talks about with his $1 million cage nut. In terms of these impacts, I think one of the things that really struck me from the 2009 study to the 2011 study was the fact that these impacts are starting to touch more companies. And it could be because some of the regulatory regulations have given up on their extensions, or the exemptions have expired at this point. It could be just that there's more enforcement. It could also be the fact that companies are just more cognizant of what's happening to them. But I think if you look at these, you see significant increases, roughly 30% increases on those two, shipments placed on hold and delayed time to market, really those areas of protecting revenue. And you see other impacts in terms of lost customer market share, very, very important. Over a third of companies reported that. Maybe one of the most significant things was hidden in the research as we started to look at it. The number of companies that reported that they had no impacts was the only thing that decreased. And in fact, it decreased significantly. 70% less people that responded to the survey this year actually said that they had no impact of environmental compliance, sustainability, and related requirements on their business. So this is really something that's hitting a lot of people. The good news is that there's help available. When we look at how to address this, I think one of the key things is to do this in a comprehensive way, to have all of the information at the hands of the person that's making the decision, the engineer that's designing the product early on in the life cycle. So this framework is a way that I like to think about it, and there are obviously different variations to this. The first and foremost thing is to make sure that you understand and identify what are the requirements that you're dealing with. What are the regulations Then you have to understand what's in the products in the first place. If you don't have a good set of your bills of material and the materials that go into them, then you don't understand whether your products are compliant. Third, you need to be able to collect information on the components that you buy to make sure that you understand what is the material composition of those, how are they compliant, and how do you then analyze those against the bill of material to find out in aggregate is your product within requirement and regulatory limits. And then obviously when you do that, there are going to be things that need to be mitigated, whether you're looking at current requirements or potential future requirements. There are things that need to be mitigated. And then you need to document to make sure that you're set up in case of audit or in case customers require some sort of documentation, and also increasing requirements in terms of labeling. The key thing is to have all of these in one place to make sure you understand both the demands, the requirements, as well as what's in the product, and be able to analyze those together. And I think PLM is really the right place to do that because you've got that rich amount of product information and it's available early in the product life cycle. So I'd like to end with a few key takeaways. First of all, there's no relief from regulatory pressure. We didn't see any of the regulations really starting to drop off. We're starting to see more regulations, and we're starting to see actually more sustainability requirements add on top of the strict regulatory requirements. Tangible bottom line impacts. So these are the kinds of things that are going to hit the balance sheet and the income statement if they're not addressed appropriately. So the challenge is expanding, but there are proven processes that can help. There's technology that can help. And, again, PLM really is the right place to make sure you can deal with these things early in the product life cycle. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Tech Clarity TV. Have a great day.